Good afternoon, sir. My name is Ananya, and today what we're talking about is a topic that's widely spoken about, diversity and inclusion. And you'll see it across workplaces, be it in education or otherwise, or heavy corporate. This is a term that's openly spoken about. And the debate, I believe, the crux of the debate right now is how much of it should be allowed to permeate work, right? And there are so many organizations who are outspoken about this. For example, for Pride Month, every brand that we know and use is talking about diversity and talking about inclusion. However, this may not be a culture that's widely observed as well, right? So in the pandemic, I got into listening to podcasts. There's one podcast by Guy Raz called How I Built This, where they speak to people who have founded these wonderful companies right now. So I believe this was a podcast about Robinhood. And it is a company based on trading. It's an online platform for trading, right? And the company started facing trouble around the time that Black Lives Matter came under the radar, right? So this was, again, a topic that was widely spoken about in workplaces. However, in contradiction to this, the founders of the company took a very bold stand where they stood in front of their employees. They called a town hall, and they said, when you come to work, that's your only virtue. You're coming to work, and you're not coming to work bringing your personal baggage. We're here to work. And while I have immense respect for this topic, I don't believe this is something you should carry to work. And this they did for their stakeholders who at the time were their clients and their customers. However, they didn't really think about the workplace altogether and how that alters the workplace, an issue like this. So this is a topic I'm yet to take a deeper dive in, but these are my initial views on the topic.
Sure.
Passing it on.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Apeksha. So my fellow panelist, she talked about Black Lives and she talked about the Pride Month. I'll go on to the other aspects of diversity and inclusion and a little more generic and a larger scale version of inclusion that in general in India we are focusing upon. One of them is the financial inclusion. Whenever these days we talk about diversity inclusion, it has become a very buzzword in the management and the firms that we talk about. Sometimes we need to ponder more upon the larger scale of this impact of inclusion that it can have in the country like ours. So, like I talked about, the financial inclusion, wherein the digital India since 2015, we have put a thrust, we have moved towards the digital, becoming a digital India, which is making, with an aim of making India more financially inclusive and better for the people to live in. Apart from that, if I come back to the firms and the companies as in terms of management perspective, we can talk about the gender inclusion and the pride, which we talk. Another aspect which I think I can focus upon is the sports inclusion, like the Paralympics these days, which are focused upon, in order to make it more inclusive for the specially abled people. So these are some frontiers of inclusion that we can probably discuss as in when we get time to think upon it and ponder upon it. I'll move on to the next.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Vani Mahajan. For me, diversity and inclusion, as my fellow panelists said, that it is a buzzword these days. But I'm an architect. I come from a construction background. So there, diversity and inclusion also includes women as well. Because we have seen that in construction industry, there are very few women working day and day, and we can see there are people who are still discriminating towards them. So for me, I think the first step should be to include and feel included. And coming here, doing an MBA, I have seen that, yes, girls are getting a first step towards their goals, but from the background I'm coming from, that there wasn't as such privilege for girls to start up their own and to dream of having their own firm if they don't have a backing from a male person at the end. So for me, that is what diversity and inclusion is.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Aditya Nayar. So, diversity and inclusion. So, what does it mean to be included somewhere? It means that you can go to a place, be it a school, a college, or a workplace, and you know that you are just one of them. You can give your all, and you know that you get that feeling that you are part, you don't feel excluded and so on. So when we say, when we go to workplaces, nowadays there's a lot of, organizational restructuring around, making workplaces more accessible for diverse groups of people. So why is that being done? So in earlier days, like if you go to 1990s and a lot of mechanical engineering jobs, they would openly say that we don't need women because they cannot handle the labor here. But over the years, it has become, women have become such an integral part of the workforce that all the companies have actually started the opposite. That they do, try to hire more women. And also they have even gone beyond to hire more people from the LGBTQ background, from the economically diverse backgrounds as well. So I would say that when we go around, in workplace inclusion, the core factor should be, to make a place where anyone can feel included. At the end that you know whether you are disabled, whether you are have different beliefs, you must not feel in such a way that you are excluded from something. You must not get that feeling that you are out of place somewhere. Because at the end of the day, even though when we go around designing such places, we might only look at certain observable characteristics. But at the end of the day, every individual is different. So when we go around designing these places, which actually are more where anyone can feel at home, even people who fall under the category of the standard male category also will feel included, because at the end of the day, when everyone is included, when everyone is different, if you make a place that is inclusive for all, you will fit in no matter what.
Right. I think you talked about most of the conversations moving around gender, race, etc. But let's say inclusion, financial inclusion you talked about. If you were to prepare an agenda for this country, what are the other areas that you think that will make all of us, make this country very inclusive? Financial is one part of it. What else? It's a very good example that you gave, financial inclusion, right? Digital India actually helped that.
As in to make India more financially inclusive, or other aspects of
Other
inclusion?
aspect of inclusion is
Okay.
what I mean.
Okay,
What are the
fine.
other areas that you can think of?
Okay. So probably we can think of in all the, since I had been preparing for UPSC since some time, which is why I talked about financial inclusion. There are other aspects of inclusion which
You mean civil services?
Civil services,
Okay.
yes sir. So other aspects of inclusion which we thought about, which we used to sometimes have a discussion upon, was to, especially when you see the backward areas and the rural areas. So these days what the government has been trying to push in, and what literally the civil society also wants to do, is make sure that the basic necessities like power, for which the women have to go over and walk miles to collect basic things to have electricity in their homes. So government is trying to make electricity for all our basic necessities like electricity, water, and a pipeline for the domestic gas. These three basic things are needed in every basic society, in every basic house, so that people can work upon and move towards other aspects of their lives, which include education and healthcare. Unless and until we get the basics that we can provide
So
with.
one of the thoughts that's crossing my mind as we are talking is language. I know it's like India is a pyramid, so these days even in smaller towns people speak in English, but go back to my time, most of the time you will see that it's a very elite concept in urban areas. Do you think language can make India very inclusive, so that it is not a barrier for opportunities available for rural masses? Do you think that effort in that direction can help India to become more inclusive?
So that can certainly help, because for suppose whenever we come with some new technology and we want to open it up for rural areas as well, and if someone goes there and they're not able to talk in English or Hindi, that is where when we design something or when we go up to them and talk to them, we give them certain options that they can at least talk to us and bring about their concerns. Like for once we had to work upon a mental health app in the rural areas. So for that, we used to think about certain language criteria that can be brought in that, and then in order to converse with them. So that is just one part of rural areas, but we also have other areas in this country like the South India as well, in which we have so many regional languages and other languages. So I think that one part, yes, essentially if we work upon it, we might be able to bring people together.
Thank you.
Thoughts.